I don't know when Zhang's mother hung up the phone. When I woke up again, I was already in Jiang Yan's office. The phone call from last night had completely slipped from my mind due to Jiang Yan's activities in the latter part of the night. Lazily lying on the sofa, I watched him working like a proper executive, and I couldn't help but snicker. He was dressed in a meticulously tailored dark brown suit, looking so serious and composed, which contrasted sharply with his crazy demeanor from the night before. I turned over on the sofa, and unsurprisingly, his assistant got distracted again. Seeing his awkward expression, I laughed out loud. The assistant straightened up, seemingly embarrassed, and stammered, "Mr. Jiang, the meeting, is it still on?" "Hmm." That non-committal hum left the assistant looking towards me for help, seemingly thinking I could influence Jiang Yan's decisions. I didn't say anything, and Jiang Yan didn't even bother to look up. I sighed, finding it all rather dull. Sitting up, I gestured to the assistant. "Go ahead, he'll join you shortly." Jiang Yan looked up. Our eyes met. Neither of us spoke, and after a moment, he nodded. The assistant, relieved, quickly exited the room. Meanwhile, Jiang Yan kept watching me. "What's wrong? You want to keep me under constant surveillance? Aren't you afraid of dying over this?" I asked him coldly. "Not afraid." I was taken aback by his bold answer, almost choking on my breath. "Dying over you is worth it." Years had not seen him, yet his flirty responses had gotten more outrageous. I stared at him with wide eyes. Seeing my reaction, Jiang Yin let out a soft chuckle, stood up, walked over, and embraced me gently, asking, "Does it still hurt below?" I stiffened, my smile strained as I looked at him. "Don't you know your own strength?" "Hurt." It was damn near excruciating. Hearing this, Jiang Yin actually smirked again. He was usually so reserved and icy, but this smile seemed almost to warm the chill, and I found myself momentarily dazed by his grin. Realizing this, I quickly shook my head to clear my mind. "Too thin," Jiang Yin muttered while caressing my bony back. "R1, you really should work out." That comment made me pause. 8 years ago, after our first time, Jiang Yin had also buried his head in my neck and mockingly teased me. At the time, I had pounded on his back in embarrassment and rage. "What are you thinking?" Jiang Yin teased, seemingly seeing right through me. "Work out your grandpa. I'm perfectly healthy." I snapped back angrily, frustrated, placing a cushion behind me and pushing him away vehemently. Jiang Yin just shrugged, saying nothing, but it was clear he didn't believe me. I felt the irritation building up inside me, unable to vent. "Get out. Stop hovering around me. All right, you sleep a bit more. I'll be back soon, and the meal I ordered for you will arrive shortly," he responded calmly, enduring my outbursts. I waved him off and lay back down on the sofa, not bothering to watch him leave. Jiang Yin watched me settle down to sleep, tucked the blanket around me more securely, and then left. After he left, I took a phone call from the nursing home. "Mr. Ruan, your father's lucid periods are becoming fewer. When can you come?" I sat up, gripping the phone tightly. "In 2 days." "Okay, also, Mrs. Jiang visited the hospital this morning. Did she speak to my father?" I asked anxiously. "No, but she asked me to pass on a message to you, hoping you would be sensible." "All right, I understand." After hanging up, I sat on the sofa lost in thought, with Zhang's mother's voice from the night before echoing in my ears. "Do you want all your years of effort to go to waste? Am I going to ruin Jiang Yin again?" Before I turned 18, my life was exceptionally smooth. Family business among the Fortune 500, loving parents, and then meeting Jiang Yin. I flaunted my entire youth, my good fortune appearing to cut off at 18 with his parents' interference, the bankruptcy of our family business, relatives taking advantage of the situation, my mother's sudden death, and a mountain of debt. From a favored son to plummeting into endless darkness overnight. The split with Jiang Yin, the relentless debt collection calls, and to this day, nightly visits from various thugs. Those memories flashed through my mind like a fast-forwarding movie. In the quiet office, I could clearly hear my own heartbeat. In 2 days, I would definitely leave. When I woke up from another sleep, Jiang Yin had returned from his meeting. He laid out the food in front of me, all my favorites. Without me having to lift a finger, He knew exactly what I wanted and fed it to me. He seemed to relish this stuff. It's too bland. I pushed away the soup he offered, not wanting to drink it. Sweetie, you can't eat spicy right now, he coaxed me, placing the spoon back to my lips. I rolled my eyes at him, but eventually drank it down. I reassured myself, just 2 days. Just stay by his side for 2 days. Whether it was making up for suddenly leaving him years ago or a personal longing. Just 2 days. Once those 2 days were up, I would leave immediately. During these 2 days with Jiang Yin, I was like the pampered young master of before, catered to hand and foot, spoiled without restraint by Jiang Yin. The days passed quickly, Jiang Yin working, and me alone in his house, playing games, watching TV. But at night, he made sure I was thoroughly inebriated before we slept. It felt like he was trying to make up for all the lost years in just a few nights. That night, he seemed to have drunk a bit, his brows and eyes softened, his sexy lips lightly pecking at me. Arwan? Arwan? His hot breath, laced with an enticing hint of alcohol, tickled my senses. I pushed his face away. Are you a dog or something? Always nuzzling? MHM, I'm your dog. A deep, muffled woof erupted, striking right at my heart. You're breaking the rules. I laughed and cried at the absurdity, but seeing his somewhat drunken state, I couldn't help but reach out and tousle the hair falling over his forehead. He looked at me, his eyes slightly glazed with alcohol, and guided my hand downwards. Hey, Arwan, I miss you. His eyes held a slight wistfulness as he looked at me. My heart softened instantly. Don't leave me. He looked at me intensely, demanding an answer. I was momentarily distracted, and he took the opportunity to press into me sharply, watching me intently. As I remained silent, a reddish hue began to appear in his eyes. All right, my voice trailed off, lost in his kiss. That night, Jiang Yin was relentless again. I couldn't believe how the shy young man from 8 years ago had become so fierce and overpowering, leaving me completely defenseless against his advances. Probably Jiang Yin never expected that right after I agreed not to leave him the night before, I would end up entangled with another man in his house the very next day. And it was someone he knew, someone who had always been a thorn in his side. Jiang Yin watched as Lu Tong half embraced me, his tall frame seeming to buckle in an instant. Lu Tong's long, sparse eyelashes drooped in a melancholy and rebellious look, his gaze towards Jiang Yin filled with disdain. Just like 8 years ago. Mr. Jiang, thanks for taking care of Arwan these past few days. I'm here to take him away. 8 years ago, when I was desperate, Lu Tong defied all pressures to take me away from Jiang Yin and out of this city. And now, once again, Jiang Yin just stood by the window, the light from the sidelight casting a thin shadow in front of him. His pupils no longer showed any other color, the terrifying blackness brimming with danger swirling around. At that moment, he resembled an enraged beast, almost ready to tear his prey apart at the next moment. Mr. Jiang, you shouldn't call him Arwan anymore. He'll have a new life, a new beginning, Lu Tong said as he held me close, his tone and attitude cutting into Jiang Yin like blades. 8 years ago, I could take him away, and it's the same now. Jiang Yin, what's not yours will never be yours. Marry your rich miss and stop thinking about what shouldn't be. Lu Tong's thin lips spat out harsh words, the hatred in his tone undisguised. Jiang Yin ignored him, his gaze fixed on me the whole time. I knew that if I didn't say something today, I definitely wouldn't be able to leave this place. I pointed to the window beside Jiang Yin and spoke calmly. 23 floors up. Guess what the scene would be like if I jumped? Ignoring Jiang Yin's pale face, I continued. What do you think comes out first, my brains or my shattered bones? Is it even possible to piece them back together? In the quiet, spacious room, only the sound of breathing could be heard. Jiang Yin, hearing my words, became so agitated that his rage seemed shattered. Jiang Yin, I need to leave or I'll die, I managed to say. Jiang Yin staggered slightly. Does being with me really disgust you that much? Involuntarily, I shuddered. That was what I had said when we broke up 8 years ago. The news of the family bankruptcy had just broken, and the school was filled with various rumors about us. Wherever I went, I was accused and even openly criticized by teachers. The negative emotions piled up, my irrational behavior causing Jiang Yin to miss his college entrance exam, where he was supposed to be the top science student. I still remember that night before the exam, drunk from the bar, Jiang Yin waiting for me at the door, carefully watching over me. Arwan, don't be scared. I'm still here. Get away. Get out of here. It's all your fault. All because of you. I lashed out in emotional collapse, blaming him for his father's actions, which led to people exploiting my father's company. I piled all the problems and conflicts on him. Jiang Yin didn't explain. He just kept apologizing. I knew it wasn't his or his father's fault, but I couldn't help but let out all those violent emotions. Later, I wiped my tears away. Let's break up. Arwan, don't. Jiang Yin pleaded desperately as he grabbed my hand. I don't want to be with you anymore. I feel sick just thinking about it. No, Arwan. You looking like this really makes me feel disgusted. I didn't let him finish. Lu Tong had come to take me away, and he led me directly out of there. Zhang's mother was right. I was a disaster.